forever. Just my channel has just kind of been focused more on DJs and stuff. So it'll go live here in a second. For people kind of new to the channel or don't understand what a frame is, do you want to explain what a frame is?
Go ahead.
So basically, when it comes to language patterns and when it comes to situations, no, depending on your environment, right? What is your frame? What is your point of reference? What is the goal that you're looking to set? So a lot of people may not understand that if you don't set a frame and then people abide by that frame, then you're not setting up your boundaries, right? Then it's subject to be pushed around. And basically well, we'll just say in a sales conversation, your frame is to set yourself as the professional to get the end goal of a sale or at least a win-win situation. And if you set yourself as the instructor, and then the other person who is coming to you for a service to begin with would want you to be a professional in the field, and if you don't set yourself as the professional in the field, then a lot of things come up that question your capabilities of being able to execute a job. Now, the reason I bring this up is because I was talking to one of the DJs that I work with, and this was an event that he did on his own. And of course, the guys that I have in my circle are right to work, so they'll pick up shifts wherever they get shifts. And this shift in particular was a favor shift, right? So I wasn't there for the whole situation, but I did get the conversation after what had happened, right? Like after he did the gig or whatever. So basically he was telling me that he was dealing with somebody that was a little bit complicated to work with. And then the frame was that they had a relationship, like they were friends. They've known each other for a long time. So with that in mind, this person probably thought that the other person was a miracle worker, that they could just do anything, that they could be particular on details and just think that they could execute everything the way that this person thought it was supposed to be executed. Now, realize somebody's getting married, they're not getting married every single weekend, right? So, but they had hired somebody who happens to be a professional in their field, didn't set the frame of, well, this is how you do this is how you do this, and this is how you do this, and be the educator on what is about to be executed. And if you don't keep that frame as the educator or the professional in your field, then things become wishy-washy, and then you have miscommunication and things that are awkward at best, right? So one of the situations that he was explaining to me was that every single table knew their song. So basically, when he played that song, the table was supposed to get up, go to the bride, take a picture, and then go to the buffet line. And the bride told the DJ that he wasn't supposed to explain any of those instructions, that each table knew what they were doing. And then after he did the first table, it became awkward because the wedding planner came up to him and said, well, why aren't you announcing this? Because nobody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, even though the bride thought that was supposed to just magically happen. So if you don't set yourself as the professional and explain and stop it at the beginning, hey, look, I've done countless events. I know this isn't going to work. Well, of course explain and meet the person where they're at, because they think they're the professional. They're all excited about getting married and they have all these different thoughts in their head, and yet they haven't executed it. They don't have time in the trenches. And even though she probably thought she was best friends with all these people and they were all on the same page, it's not like they did Zoom calls every single week to go, hey, look, when your song comes on, you're going to go to the table, take a picture with me, and go to the buffet. Or if anybody even read the email, if she sent emails out to everybody, like they were just supposed to magically know this. Now, this puts the DJ in an awkward situation because he allowed it to continue further. Now, if he just would have said, hey, look, you may think this is a great idea. In fact, it might even work out that way. But to be on the safe side, how about I just make the announcement more clear so that it actually happens that the way that you want it, and then I won't have complications with the wedding planner who's probably done a few weddings themselves and realize that's not going to work out that way. So that comes with experience. And if you set yourself as doing that, then you look unprofessional. So if you didn't set the frame of being the educator, or understanding because you have all this experience that you could execute what the bride wanted with some uh, adjustments, we'll say.
There you go. Yeah, that was so on my side of this, basically I'm thinking we were talking earlier before we got online, is basically don't accept anything if you're not willing to be the professional you are, because basically every time you go out, every single time you go out professionally, doesn't matter if people know you, how much you're being paid or not being paid or whatever, when you're in the public, when you're in the public's eye, that is you. That's your reputation and who you are. And I suggest, after many, many years, if you're not going to do a gig right, don't do it at all because it's your reputation and people will know. Now, this guy in this scenario situation, he knew the person, which good and bad. Yet he's the professional. So what he, if he's wanting to keep his reputation up, he would communicate more. And if he found something was going awry, he would either go to the other, the party person, the wedding
The
planner,
wedding planner, yeah.
say, what do you think here? And then, or he'd go directly to his friend. Either way, with the knowledge he had and he knew it wasn't working, this is when you shift gears. This is when a professional jumps in and does this. Just because somebody told you, don't do something and you find it's not working, as a professional, we are troubleshooters. We are there to make the party better, no matter what. If we're an entertainer or a DJ or lighting or whatever, when we see something that we know is going to not work, then we need to either communicate it to
Well,
whoever, either.
Jeff, that's actually another psychology trick, right? I could go to you and say, "Hey, look, I'm an amazing person." Or I can tell somebody else, say, "Hey, look, I've worked with Scott before. He's an amazing person." So that's a shift, right? So instead of me telling you how great I am, somebody else is telling you how great I am. So if you have this situation in particular, I could have just taken that information. Okay, the bride wants this. I can go to the wedding planner and say, "Hey, look, this is what the bride's thinking. I don't think that's going to work. You probably don't think that's going to work. So how do you want to handle it from here?" And then
Right.
you now have a displaced person explaining what you said.
Right. And you're also covering your, what there, by doing that. And so when you see something's going awry, I would always say get backup, like you said, go to the party planner and say, I don't think this is going to work so well. And I thought it would. Okay, we did it once. We did what the client asked me to do, which is my friend. Yet she has never run one of these, and it didn't work. So so it's not working. Nobody's going to the buffet.
Who
It's not
knew?
my party yet. I know it's not going to work. So we need to do something different.
And all these things come with experience. I mean, if you're kind of new to the game, you might want to go ahead with somebody else's vision or, at least intertwine what would work with what the client is looking to do. And it's not always easy telling somebody that it's a little bit more complicated than what they're thinking it's going to be because they could always point back to you and say, "What, you can't make this happen?" Right? So it's not that I couldn't make this happen. I don't think anybody on the planet, when you take away their microphone, that's going to be able to make this happen because they're not going to just magically get up and go to the like a play or rehearsal or something.
Well, again, as the professional, when somebody asks you, say, well, you need to give me more control. But when you say yes to something, remember when you're saying yes, you're putting your reputation in focus. So
Yeah, well, he doesn't know what he's doing.
he doesn't know what he's doing. I hire this guy's a great DJ. But you let your friend limit you to whatever you could do. I don't want this. And at that point, he should have said, you know, what we're going to do is what works the best. Because, I'm a professional. This is what we do. If that works, that's great. But more than likely, uh, people, and I have found in the last years, is that they don't do what they're told unless someone tells them to do it. Everybody, well, they're going to do it as soon as the song comes on. Okay, if that's the case, let's try it. Let's see what happens. And then when it doesn't happen that way, you say, well, hey, look, like I said, I had the experience. Why don't we do it this way? Let me announce it so we can continue on and not make it even worse.
So basically, it's just understanding the frame. If
Right.
you go in the with the frame of I'm the professional, I've done this a bunch of times, I understand the ins and outs of many different situations, and then understanding the frame of the person who hasn't done this a bunch of times to be able to explain to them, hey, look, I want to make sure that your day is just as special as you want it to be. And we could get there. It just might have to alter a little bit because I understand from previous experiences that this probably isn't going to work out the way that you're thinking. And depending on how you language that, depending on how it lands, you know, I mean, it would be for the better of the event. And, you can always go with what they say and be like, hey, look, I did what you said. And I, at least told the wedding planner because they don't think I don't know what I'm doing. Like, but if your hands are tied at the same time, that's also part of being an experienced professional as well, is that, you know, I guess I guess sometimes the client has the end say, but if they don't get what they want, or don't get the desired outcome what they were looking for, then it might be best to alter your action. So again, a frame control, just as long as you go in with, knowing like, hey, look, I've tried this before. It's probably not going to work out this way, but if you want me to, I'll show you. Like, and let
Communication,
everybody know.
communication. And that was a lack of understanding on both parts. And again, what I'm making a different point at the beginning is whenever you accept a gig, it doesn't matter if you're being paid, not paid, paying paid less than you want, more than you want, whatever. It is still your reputation to do a good job because that's the last event you did, and every event is your last gig, and that's where you break or make yourself each and every gig doing the best you can. Now, his hands might have been tied there that says, I have to do what she says. Yet, what you would still want to do is when we find it's not working, again, go to somebody second in charge or go straight to direct because you don't want to lose your reputation no matter what, even at any gig. If you
So
know it's wrong, you know it's wrong. I mean, if you don't know it's wrong, then when you find it's wrong, do the best to cover yourself and also don't take gigs unless you're going to do them to your best ability because all that is hurting your reputation. That's one of my biggest things on this. What we're talking about today is your reputation is what you got, and when you mess with it, even you don't even want other people to be able to mess with it because it's still your reputation. So don't get, well, work on not getting in a situation where it's not beneficial to you in the long run on reputation or money or whatever. And it doesn't hurt to help a friend or anything, yet not at the expense of ruining your livelihood.
Well, that when you were talking, it just triggered up another experience that I had a couple of years back. I went to this other DJ company and I was hanging out, and these DJs were on salary or something like that. And the guy said something like, "Oh, I'm not getting paid what I want, or not getting paid enough for these gigs, so I'm gonna, put in minimal effort." And I was like, "Well, you agreed to what you're getting paid. The company's paying you what you agreed to. Why would you give it minimal effort? That's just a concept or a theory that I never wanted to live by. Was like, how much little can I do and still get a check to come in? I always wanted to work more to get more of an outcome or more of an income, for financial reasons. And I just never understood the salary mindset.
Well, again, right there, what we're talking about is still your reputation. Here's the deal, and this happens a lot in my industry here, and entertainers per se, is that sometimes there'll be a gig and they just don't have the money, or they just don't want to pay it, or whatever, and they accept a gig because it's not at their rate. Now, even though it's not at the rate, and like you just said, they're not going to put in that effort, yet it is their last gig they've ever done with the team around them who it's their reputation and how they act in that situation. Now, even though you're not getting paid and you might not like that, it doesn't even matter because you accepted this event. Now now your reputation's on the line to do a good job. If you're not going to do a good job, never, ever, ever accept a gig, because all it is knocking your entire career into a mediocre person or something. I mean, when you said that, Scott, I could tell right offhand if you saw somebody like that at one of your gigs, you probably wouldn't hire him again unless it was absolutely, absolutely, absolutely necessary. And maybe we would hire someone like that, but at the same point, we wouldn't if we had a choice. So most of the time, we have a choice. So be on the A team instead of going to the C team. I always say that your reputation is all you got. And it's not true, but it's mostly what you got. I mean, you
That
can
was
go ahead.
That I was about to say that was one of the paradoxes I had when I was working for another talent agency. It was like I'm going to go out there and I still got to do an amazing job, and I still got to promote the people that are putting me out here, even though I don't want to be here, but I have to financially. So that was a sticking point for me where, well, geez, I guess I got to take these gigs because I have a certain standard of living, and at the same time, I still have to be ethical. So I have to hand out their business cards, and then it was like, well, how do I find the time to build my own thing while I'm too busy doing this thing? So that was a hard transformation to make. Yet it's still possible, because of the world of internet marketing, you can make all these things on your own, and break free from working for somebody that if it's an undesirable situation, because yet you're still a professional and you still want to build your own brand, just depending if it's a good working relationship with your talent agencies. So for me, it became something that I wasn't comfortable with. And well, I went and built my own thing because I went out and learned sales, language patterns. Like I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. And it was like, well, what? I guess I got to figure out how to do that. And then now I'm here doing AI and stuff. So yeah, just remember when you're doing frame control is that you can always pivot from where you're at and understand that you're the professional in the field. And then it's not like you want to treat everybody like they're the student, but at the same time, you want to use language patterns that are educating the other person and kind of showing them that they may not know everything that they think they know, because that circles back around to the Dunning-Kruger effect. This bride may have been to a few weddings or even seen a couple on TikTok or something like that. Now we're a pro, not realizing that people that do this full time, that's their life, right? So um and there's a lot of things that go with that, other than just understanding in the heat of the moment things are going to happen a certain way because we've done them countless times, whereas somebody else just kind of thinks of something and think that's going to happen without the trial and error that a professional would have. And if you don't convey that or stand tall with that frame, other people will just assume that they can just bark orders and expect it to happen a certain way. And this person or the another person won't even think they're being difficult, right? They'll just think it's this way, and they won't even have enough knowledge to understand it doesn't work that way. And well, it's not like their fault, other than not being educated enough to understand that it doesn't work that way. Like,
That's a good point there. It's like they don't know what they don't know, and they don't know it till they learn it. And you've already learned it. If you already know it, help them out. I mean, seriously. The other thing I want to throw in, another aspect of all this, is remember, like I said, every gig's your reputation. So even if you're not getting paid, listen to this, even if you're not getting paid as much as you want or even anything, you accepted a gig. So when you accept a gig, you accept being professional at the gig if you're a professional. And you never know who's going to be watching, so both ways on the reputation, you could lose a lot of your reputation. uh Agents know agents, so if you're working through agent, one agent will tell another. I mean, I used to work through about 74, maybe it was 74 or 84 agencies that would hire me. And so if you lose one agent, a lot of times you'll lose a lot, because they'll either try to blackball you, you did something wrong at their event. I mean, it goes fast. In the same way, if you screw or mess over an entertainer as an agent, it goes quick, because a lot of the entertainers know each other. So a lot of times it's a check and balance system. Now, it doesn't always say it's 100% check and balance. Yet, a lot of times you could even pick up some more gigs, but more paying gigs that do even getting your own rate if you do well at this gig because it's your reputation. Again, they say, wow, did you see that DJ and how he did all the great stuff at this? So it's still your reputation. So there is a flip side when you're doing great. Not only you're keeping your reputation, but it's also giving people, it's kind of like an audition without money. I mean, get
So
an
if
audition.
if you don't hold the frame, then your professionalism will be questioned.
Right.
Does he know what he's talking about? Oh, who is this guy? Oh no, I was, and then in your mind, if you're a people pleaser, you're like, oh, I was just trying to make the client happy. Well, how'd that work out for you? You know, who exactly did you make happy in this situation? Because it didn't happen the way it was supposed to happen. Yet, if you would know that ahead of time, you could avoid awkwardness. It's just something to keep in mind. When I was talking to this person, you're kind of clueless to that. So that's the whole reason of the video is, are you holding the frame? Are you understanding the situation? Are you a professional? Are you seeing the ins and outs and educating the person in front of you of how things could happen? And if you're new, maybe not talk so much about what you don't know, but the things that you do know. And especially, we always learn something as we go. So hopefully, this person understood that. And sometimes when you do favor gigs, it's like hiring family, right? Like, oh, I paid you X amount of dollars, I'm expecting X amount of work, and the other person's like, well, I do everything for you. So, and then that just becomes awkward, right? So just keep that in mind, especially when working for friends and stuff. And most times it works out pretty good, depending on the relationship. And some people have empathy and they understand there's a lot of things that are going involved. And like to have an insurance, pay for that, all these different things that you have to have a business, right? So other people may take that for granted because they know you and not see the hustle on the back end. And if you portray yourself as, oh, this is easy, or yeah, and that's how they're going to treat you. Or, I mean, not that it's not easy, or there's a lot of things going on in the back end. Like I just did a sale for some friends of mine, and I put it under my company, and I work with them, so it's fine. But I just went there to make the sale, and then as we were going along, there was more things involved, and that I brought up in the sales conversation, just because it was like, oh, you're gonna need a COI, right? And these guys were like, oh, I guess he has to provide his insurance. Oh, I guess he had to spend time to make this sale. Oh, I guess he had to do this. He has to provide this. And really, I personally just like making the sale, and I want to keep my hands off this project as much as possible. And this is an over $6,000 contract. And at the same time, it was like, well, if I could keep my hands off of it, that'd be great. And if you could give me a little money for making the sale, that'd be great because I have all the systems and everything in play, like the emails and the contracting and all this stuff. That's just automation for me. Even though you guys don't have it set up, for me, it's pretty easy. So I'll probably make a commission, off of this. And I hopefully they were able to understand that, yeah, they're like, even I'm looking at my business insurance right now. It's about $3,000. So I was like, well, I had to provide insurance. I had to provide contracting and emailing and scheduling, calendar invites, looking professional in front of this big time corporate client, all these things I did. So another thing with frame control, since I'm a DJ and you're an entertainer, right? Like, I was thinking about props. Like, how can I go to this sales call and then just, have props or look professional, right? So we all showed up dressed up. I have the logoed shirts. These other guys work with me, and they wore the same logoed shirts. So when we showed up, there was a big dirt field, right? I don't know, about the size of two football fields, all dirt, because this is a construction company and they're going to have a holiday party. They're going to throw up some tents, and they wanted cameras and speakers and TVs and microphones and a whole bunch of stuff. So, in order to set myself as the frame, right, I'm always thinking about frame control and how can I portray that without saying, hey, remember, like I was saying before, oh, I'm so great, or somebody could tell you how great I am. Well, how do I tell you how great I am without saying it, right? So it just comes across. So I showed up with a wheel. You know what the wheel does? The wheel is a measurement, right? So like these people are construction, so they understand what this is. So I broke it out, and as soon as I broke it out, everybody was like, "Oh my God, that's so awesome!" So I need to you know what I'm talking about, Jeff? Like this is if I wanted to measure 140
Yeah, I
feet,
know.
so I wouldn't be tiptoeing my way across. I just
Right.
break out the wheel and go all the way down. That was such a topic of conversation. And as soon as the client saw that, they were like, "Oh, how?" And then, well, here we are, so holding the frame, right? What do you got to do to hold the frame? And since we're entertainment, I was like, props. What can I do with props? Well, let's set up with this. Let's do this. Like, and I don't have to tell you how good I am or how much I do this or how easy it is. Simply just broke that out, and that explained everything. And I don't think a lot of people think in those terms, right? So what can you do to show yourself as a professional? Like Zoom calls, right? I do sales calls with Zooms, and then like if I wanted to change the lights, right? It just does it. Like, and that without me telling you how great I am, I mean that's already set up. This is how it works, right? Oh, the TV in the back. Yeah, I could change the images on that and have that set up for your event or whatever. So this is always me displaying myself as the professional, and then people are more apt to take the student chair and be like, "Oh, tell me more," because you have a lot to share. So just keep that in mind.
You can also bring in all the other things like prestige, other places you've done this before. It's
Sure.
going to be, we're confident that this we've done this here, here, and here to bring in prestige, whatever, bring in all the aspects of safety and prestige and feelings. We're going to make, hit all the sales pitches. But I mean, look at that. Uh, Again, with you framing yourself that you're professional, the one step right before that is basically framing it to the person who's you're selling it for to say, look, I'm bringing in all this and all this to your team. So, right before anything goes, you negotiate the skills. Say, if this happens, I would like a percentage of whatever. On the to say, if I do this and I get your sale, 5%, 10% finder's fee or something, or whatever you do.
Yeah, we haven't really worked out numbers and all, but
Well, no, no. What I'm just saying, in the future, if you do this a lot, you would want to put that into play to say, then it would be established without throwing out something at the end and saying, "Well, I expected," because what we know, we don't assume
yeah,
anything.
we did it. We just did another revision of the contract. So, um, will it sign? I'm like 99% sure it'll
Yeah.
sign.
See, and that's the thing. There's so many little details that come with selling in a big event that a lot of people don't even recognize because like the other people, they don't know what they don't know till they know it.
Yeah,
It's
the inexperienced person. Oh, it just happens, right?
well, also like you just said,
I make it look that easy.
right, but all the expenses you even to the props you bring, the measure, the confidence that you carry in, the experience that you have, all these play at it, and then knowing how to do the contract, how to cover your butt wherever you're going, and also understand safety and everything. There's just so much that people, just like the bride didn't know what she didn't know. She assumed that everybody would follow her instructions, which she probably had either on a table, like you said, maybe in an email, or she just said to her friends, "This is your song,"
I
whatever it
doubt.
was.
I even doubt that happened.
So whatever it was, miscommunication between. So you really want to have as much communication and as much understanding, no matter if you're getting paid or not paid, because it's still your reputation every time you go out, no matter what. If I can tell you, even in the green room, if you don't know what a green room is, everybody out there is, a lot of places will have a room for the entertainers to go, so if they need to get a drink, not alcohol, but like a soda or something, water, or they need to get a snack, they're going to be there for 8 hours, whatever. It's a place to rest. But and a lot of times it's right behind the stage, okay? And you got to make sure your microphone's off or whatever, because if your microphone is not turned off, oh my God. Anyway, you can get the adjust. But when you go in there and you you act like you don't want to be there, all the people understand that. And I can tell you many times as an agent myself, and I've done over 10,000 events here in the Dallas area with either me doing it or someone else doing it. Uh, when I see people with a bad attitude, and I've seen them, I put them on a list at the bottom of the list. I might have 20 character artists, but even if they're good, if they're grumpy and stuff in front of public, or anytime I see them and they're just terribly miserable and they don't want to be there, I don't want them there. I don't want them at my gig. I don't own all gigs, but ones I put my name on, I don't want my entertainers, and they're not mine, but the people I'm getting out there is representing my company. I don't want them not want to be there, no matter if they're being paid a lot, a little, or nothing. I don't care. If they accept the gig, they need to be professional in front of the public and even behind the public. So you really don't even want anybody on your team who doesn't want to be there for any reason. So, just as an agent, if you're going to be an agent at the top, you want to look at people's attitudes, because you can act like you're hiding your attitude, but it still comes through most of the time, no matter what, you know. But especially, don't be grumping in front of public, no matter what. And then when you're in the green room, again, all you're doing is bringing the other entertainers down or whatever. You got to really watch it, because your reputation is, even in front of public and around all your entertainers and all your agents. They don't want to usually work with somebody who's going to either mess up the gig by being so negative it brings everybody else down. So watch yourself on professional gigs. Just it is so important, your reputation. I mean, in your attitude. Don't you agree?
Nope, I like your attitude.
No, I don't like your attitude. No, and I'm serious about the thing. When I see people who don't want to be at gigs, I make a note who they are and what they're doing. So I just put them on a list. I don't really want to hire them. Again, if you were in a situation where you had to hire them, you might, but you would be watching them to make sure if they did it again at that event, then you just put them farther down the line. And then at one point, usually you won't ever have to hire them again. You just don't have to. And sometimes you do as an agent, because some of them have the skills to do the gig. They just have a bad attitude. Okay. So, and sometimes if you had like 12 character artists on a gig, you might, and all the others are booked in town, you might have to go to that bottom of the barrel to get it. They're good character artists, but they have a bad attitude. And so we still have to fill the gig. Yet it's basically from getting 100 to 200 gigs a year to getting two. You know what I mean? If even you, because even if you're working through 94, let's say, not fun. I said 80, basically 80, 74 to 84 a gig or agents, I would say 50% of the agents know the other 50% of those 80. So 40, you could lose 40 in a night if you do something stupid. I mean, if you do something crazy, or you go and then you drink too much at a gig, or just whatever you're doing, or if you're really mean to somebody. I've had to kick out. I have this one gig I've had like 9 years now, and I had to kick out two entertainers. One was a beautiful, wonderful, I mean, just great artist. I mean, one of the best in Dallas. And basically, he got snarky with one of the clients who were the boss.
That
So
didn't work out too
he
well.
was being snarky with them, and they didn't like it, so he was fired. The other one was a ballooner, and he screamed at a 13-year-old. Now, not that the 13-year-old didn't deserve some kind of something, but he used too much force in his voice, and he was fired too. So still, you gotta, no matter what. I can tell you a real story that I was at a gig and this 13-year-old hit me straight in the mouth. And I was like, and of course, he's a 13-year-old. You can't slug him back. You're going to jail. I just grabbed it and I said, "Don't do that again." And uh, and he didn't, but I was just like, "You've got to." This is what when I train people to be clowns or whatever, I say, "What I want you to do is ask the questions. Every question that you could come up with. What would you do? What if this happened? What would you do? What if this happened? What would
You're
you
trying
do?"
to prepare yourself.
Well, yeah, to prepare what scenario, if I told you that was a true story, what would you do? So would you handle it the way I did? Would you just say, somebody get this kid out of here? So so you kind of go through it. What would you do? So you kind of, if you ever go through it and you're kind of in shock at that point. I didn't expect a 13-year-old to slug me in the face. No, I just didn't. I know another girl who used to be a clown, a 13-year-old, these 13-year-olds came up and took a 2x4 and slugged her in the back because he thought it'd be funny. It was a girl clown. So what do you do there? And then, if you want to learn something, one of the clowns had a broken toe and says, "Don't step on the toe; it's broken." What do you think every kid in the world was going to do? So you got to
Negation.
learn from your
Negation. People don't understand negation either. That's another NLP technique.
Yeah, that's true. It's like that's why I corrected myself earlier when I said don't. I mean, you might want to consider not doing this because, basically when you look at stuff, think about it. Think about it. And that's what people don't do, I think, is basically like that situation when you're taking a freebie, just say, "Here's the things I'm going to do," and communicate to whoever that this is my responsibility. Now, I'd say about 39 years ago, 40 years ago, I was at a gig and I was doing a freebie. Okay.
How'd
So
that work for you?
it didn't work very well. I'm going to tell you this is true. Okay. So I was doing a freebie because I was wanting to learn how to face paint. Okay. So I'm doing a face painting gig and I'm there like 3 hours or something. So this is before I knew anything. And so I'm painting and I've never done a face painting line or anything. And there's like, all these kids in line, but I've got a little sign. I'm here like 1 to whatever, 12 to 3, and now it's 3 o'clock and there's still a line. And it's like there's going to be a line forever. So I just get up and I'm going to leave. And they're like, "No, you're not. You're going to do my kid." He said, and then, and I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm out of here. I'm not even getting paid for this." And then they're getting all mad. So, but this was a learning experience for me, and it's still my reputation. So I did have balloons, and so I said, "I can't paint you, but I will balloon all the kids," and so that worked out. Yet at the time, it was my reputation, but at the same time, it was a learning experience that I didn't know. That's where one of the times I learned that doesn't matter what if you're getting paid or not, because I wasn't getting paid. I was already there 3 hours, and I was like tired, and I had another place I had to go, but I couldn't stay because I had another place to go. And but balloons are much quicker than face painting, so and they weren't as happy as they could be either. So just to tell you, uh, when this is one of those things you learn right off. You have to control your line because, especially with anything you give away at all, you got to control your line. So that was a big thing. And then I learned how to control. I later on I built signs in the back. I got poker chips, to give to each person that was their ticket. And most people aren't carrying poker chips, but I did one more step. I put a dot in the middle with a Sharpie. So most people aren't carrying a Sharpie either with them. So more than likely, if they do have a poker chip for some reason, they're not going to have the red one I have and a dot in the middle. Okay. But if they did, it's probably worth them to get the balloon or the face paint. I don't know. But, and usually at the end of the line, it says, they have a little sign that says, "I'm the last person." And every 5 minutes when I have a line situation like that, I get up and say, "Remember, if you don't have a token in your hand, you don't have a ticket to this line." So you learn as you go along. If you're giving away anything, that it's probably the same way when you're handing out lights at things. Say, I only have this so many lights. You know, at one of your DJ gigs where
No,
you're
actually, that was an idea. And whatever you just explained, like I would never have thought of that. Oh, here's your token, or here's a sign that says you're the last person.
yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't typically have to deal with that. But when
Well,
it
that's
comes
what
to,
I mean. Until you have to deal with something like that, it's not. Nobody knows. I mean, like she doesn't know what she doesn't know. She doesn't know that everybody's not going to do what she asked them to do because it's her special day, and she assumes that they're paying attention. But most people aren't paying attention, and they're not actually trying to do it against you. They just don't have the capacity. And again, they're working off their own map. So what's important to you doesn't mean it's important to them. We know it's her special day and she's getting married, but most of these guys, they're not getting married today.
and it's not like they're sitting there at the race line going, "Is that my song? Is that my song?"
Yeah, it's
It's
like,
like,
and they might even hear their song and they forgot it's that song.
that's so much can be learned from just hypnosis training or psychology training, right? Like they could probably just be tuned out and not hear any music, right?
Right.
Like,
You'd be
oh,
in
there's
a
music
maze
playing.
already. And then it's like because you're thinking about something else.
Yeah, it's not even a time to like during dinner, it's not even a time to pay attention to music. It's supposed to be in the background while you're having conversations or eating or whatever, you know? Like that's music is not the focus point of dinner.
And again, when you're at a wedding, everybody's not every second thinking about what's my part, what's my part, what's
Oh,
my part.
that's
Some
another
people
thing
are.
too. If you're not leading the way for somebody, they don't think you know what you're doing.
Okay, so I've done thousands and thousands of gigs, okay, and a lot of times a clown or a juggler or a mime or something as a pointer, kind of like a herder. So you herd someone from one place to another. Okay, a convention, they have a agenda. They're going to do this, they're going to eat, then they're going to have
Sure.
this, then they're going to have the speaker, the national speaker, they're going to give out awards, they're going to do all this. It's on a timeline. So you have a timeline. Now, they hire people like me to get the people out of the, because at the, when they first get there, it's like happy hour and people get drinks. Okay. And a lot of times they don't understand if you got 1,000 people, you need more than just two bars. Okay,
Oh yeah.
those lines are so long. Now,
Sometimes they tell me
again,
to get on the microphone and say there's other bars.
yes, and so with that said, still a line situation. Now, it doesn't matter what the hell you give, what the heck you're giving out, is that any line situation at all, popcorn, a lot of people give out little things, just toys or whatever, like uh, giveaways, just to say any giveaway, even if it's free liquor or whatever it is. Now, these guys have stood in line 20 minutes to get their liquor. Now, in 10 minutes, just the scenarios, 10 minutes, the party's going to start. So they have people like me, and there might be three or four of us. I might be on
Oh,
still
to get them to sit down?
just to get them out of the bar situation. But I can tell you,
Oh yeah, and if you don't close down the bar, there's no reason for them to move.
right, without the bar being closed. Now, my brain went to a
Oh, I'm
joke.
sorry. There's so many different things going on that
Yeah,
I think of. That like,
right. So
so you're a
they don't
mime,
close the
they're at the
bar,
bar.
they don't go in. And and now my bosses are going, oh, they're panicking at this time. And I'm got a bullwhip and saying, come on, guys, let's go. And so I get the brunt of it because I'm the clown or juggler or whatever I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
And
don't blame the boss, blame you.
yeah, blame me. Yet at the same time, you got to do your best to get them in there. And like well, my point was, I know this was a long way around. People have their own agenda and they don't care, even though the president of the company is going to be up there talking in 10 minutes. And
Yeah.
and it's not their job. It's not your job. You're there because this was your night to go have fun and you got free liquor in front of you and you're wanting that drink because you stood there 20 minutes. Okay. So there's the dilemma on your part and also on my part because I don't want to be rude at all because then I don't get to get
That
cut.
isn't getting you anywhere. Yeah.
So I'm doing bull whips and I say, please come on, everybody. We got to start the show and everything. And like you said, and most of them will leave actually because they're underbees. They're not if the CEO's about to talk. If they're not in there, they will be written up. Somebody's going to write them up. They're going to be written up, and the last few, and some of them have a lot of rank, but they don't want to be that. So it dwindles down to like 5 or 10 people trying to get their last drink, get their drink. And
Oh, people are leaving. The lines got shorter.
yeah. So it's going there and it's almost there. And you're right. If they don't close that bar, those extra ones are going to stay there till they get their drink, even if they're going to be a little late. Now, but my job was to get most of the 1,000 people in. And that's what we do. We herd them in. So, but again, what we do is the same with these 5 people are here. They're not on the same agenda like the girl, even though it's her special day. All the people there, even if they're relatives, they're not caring about that day as much as she is.
So in a sense, it's like thinking people are robots.
Well, in a
People are
sense,
human, people have error, people have their own agenda. But
right. And
but
that's
if
what
they're
I think
not programmed like a robot, it's not going to happen that way.
exactly. And the point is, and we go right back to the point, the the girl who's having the wedding doesn't know what she doesn't know. And she hasn't taken all the classes and all the things we know to understand that people aren't just the way they're going to be because they all have their own agenda too. Every one of those people are there for a reason and they're all different. Uh, one probably has to be there because they'll, you know,
One could be there for
that's
the free
her.
meal or the free cake.
Yeah, the free cake. That's one of them. But the other one is there because they're their friend. The other is they're the boyfriend of the friend. They're there because they're
You
family.
better invite these people because they're family.
Yeah, so and some of them don't want to be there. And some of them want to eat and they don't care about anything.
Yeah,
Some
this
of them
has
want
been
to
great,
drink
but
and
where's
they
the
don't care.
food? This has been great. They might even go to take a picture with the bride. They go straight to get
So,
something.
but
Just
that
like
you
the
have the whole
cupcake
gamut.
table. The
Huh?
cupcake dessert table is for after they cut the cake, but there's always people getting cupcakes.
I know. That's what I'm saying. They're going, but they're going in their mind. They're saying, "Well, I'm not going to get a piece of that cake. I'm going to go take a cupcake. I'd rather that."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they're now again, all these people at this table, they're not they're not trying to be menaces to
I'm
tear
gonna leave
up the
early
party,
anyway, so look at this
and they're not going to take the cupcakes with them anyway. So I'm going to take two.
cupcake. Yeah.
You know, and I have a friend at home who would really like this cake, so I'm going to
Yeah,
take put one in my purse,
my
and I'm going to take
daughter,
one for me.
my daughter wants one.
Yeah, it's like oh, the my daughter couldn't come because I don't know if you've ever. Well, if I'm sure even something, uh, if you ever give away something, even if it's those light sticks, okay. Uh, can I get one for my brother, or
Oh,
can I
it
get one?
never stops. Yeah. I put them
So,
away and they keep coming back. Like, oh, I got to put them away or
yeah, right. You put them away, and they say, oh, "Where can I get one of those light
uh-huh.
things?"
Uh-huh.
And it said, well, we're all out, but there's one over there.
Yeah.
But those aren't for this party. Well, I don't care. You gave them to everybody else, and my girl wants one of those.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's happened too many times.
Oh, I know. So that's weird.
Oh, one time I brought the whole box and I left it in the back where nobody could see it. And then I started like unwrapping them. And then what does Dion do? Brings the whole box out and
Oh,
there's dad.
there you go. So Dion learned a lesson there.
I mean, I learned the lesson not to trust Dion with the
Well, you
light.
learned that, so
I knew that was going to happen. That's why it was in the back.
but he didn't see.
You found out real quick.
And and he was doing what he thought was right at the time,
Yeah,
yet it definitely wasn't.
that was not the right move.
So what Dion had was not a mistake, it was a learning experience. And I bet he knows for now never to do that again.
Yeah, he's had some fun learning lessons recently. There was another time where he did a favor, where he was going to do a favor wedding, like we were talking about earlier, for somebody, and he didn't take the retainer. And guess what? They canceled him. Some favor, huh?
Live
Yeah,
and learn on that one.
yeah. And then like when he told me, I was like, man, I could tell somebody all day what to do, but I guess sometimes they just got to go through it.
Oh, I know. I see.
They just got to
You
go.
don't learn until it's
It
the
sets
only way
in.
anybody, again, we're going to the appreciation thing. If you don't give time, effort, or money, you don't appreciate even if it's free. So these people, a lot of people, if you'll give it to them for free, they don't think it's worth much.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is almost everything you want, especially in professional, get some kind of contract to the
Well,
that's just a good idea. Even if you're doing it for nothing, just say, uh, this is what we give to everybody, but it will say free on it. But I want you to sign it that we agree upon what I'm doing because you
sure.
still want that agreement. And this will get over. So this will cut down a bunch of those things that just because you're not paying my rate, just because you're not paying anything, just because that we're still going to do a professional gig or I can't do it. It's because you're putting your reputation on the line. And when people start understanding that your reputation is the most valuable thing you have, people will start, showing up on time. You know, because even if you're the best, I can tell you, I know some of the best entertainers but I would hire them like 10, 15 down on a list of good people because they tend to be late.
Ethics, yeah.
Well, just dependability. In our field, even if it doesn't take very much time to set up, you're pretty much late if you're not 15 to 30 minutes early, even if there's no setup time. But if you have setup time, you need my professionals have to have that no matter what, when that dot of time that you're being paid, you have to be ready and prepared to do
Well,
whatever's.
I gotta get going. I got a phone
Okay,
call coming
man.
in.